What's going on, YouTube? It's Trev. Most of you know that I work construction. I've mentioned it like 1,000 times, right? Um, and I work with some rough, gruff men and women. And, we give each other a lot of crap during the day, every day, in fact. And sometimes things can get a little heated, a little testy. Um, I've jumped down off of my machine or out of the truck or whatever and gotten right in people's face. Wanted to grab them by their neck and smack some sense into them. And I'm sure that they've wanted to pull me out of my truck sometimes to do the same thing to me, right? Uh, but it's the environment that we work in and that I'm used to after working in this industry for years. We're swearing and spitting and whatever all day long, right? And we really, really get on each other. Like I said, we get in each other's faces often. It's really, it's commonplace where I work, right? And I would imagine, and I've worked for other construction companies and with other construction companies, it's the same thing, right? So this is the atmosphere that I'm used to. Uh, all that said, there every once in a while is maybe someone who works with us who is a bit extra, right? A bit more than what we're normally used to dealing with. And like I said, it can get pretty hot, right? We get all over each other. I'm telling this one why they suck, why the why the job that they do sucks, and the children don't look anything like them or whatever, right? Um, but yeah, sometimes somebody will come along and work with us that just does not fit in. Okay. I can think of one particular person over the years. Let's call him Fred. Fred came from down the south part of the United States somewhere. I'm not even sure where. And he moved up here. And he just did not get along with the guys at all. He was the kind of guy who had something to say to everyone and something to say about everyone because he had X amount of years with whatever company he worked with, and he knew how to do everything, the right way, and the way we were doing everything was crap, and we didn't know anything, blah, 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 right? So when you have that kind of toxic personality and presence on the workforce continually, right? It brings down morale, and when you do that, then you also it also brings down productivity. These people can be so toxic at times that you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, "Oh, I got to go deal with that, whatever you want to call them," right? Uh, and when you have to deal with that every single day, it can really, really be grating. Now, like I said, again, we get all over each other and we get pretty hot and heavy about things sometimes. But then at the end of the day, we'll all go and get a beer, right? It's just, again, what we're used to. Well, why do I bring all this up? I had put out a video yesterday, I guess, the day before yesterday, I'm not even sure, about a proposal that was put on Agora for what to do with this $4.16 million, cross chain, multi sig Ethereum assets belonging to Terra Classic. And it was a really well written proposal, had some really good ideas. But part of the proposal was that Alex Forshaw basically accept a payout and then be gone, not able to ever submit another proposal in the community. Assuming, I guess, that he is just such a disruptive force that it's better that, we don't have that going on. And I came out against it. Not necessarily the entire um, proposal, but that part of it alone made it a no for me. Well, I had a big conversation last night with Zaradar. Zaradar, you all know, is a brilliant man. I'm lucky and honored to be able to actually call him a friend. Uh, and he's wise beyond his years, very zen, and he pointed some things out to me that gave me a different perspective. And if you watch my videos, you know that perspective is something I'm very big on, understanding people's perspectives. Uh, and yeah, as I said, it gave me another perspective, and I had a bit of an epiphany. I began to think about Fred and how Fred having that type of force on our job sites really could bring down the entire job and the entire crew. Okay. Now, because I work with, as I said, just, a bunch of tough guys, I mean, the goal every day is to see who can spread the most testosterone around or whatever, right? Because I'm used to that, we have a very, very high tolerance for, you know, aggravation, right? Because we deal with it every day. So when somebody like Fred comes along, it takes that level of toxicity to really throw the program off. But things happen in degrees. Now, I'm used to that because, that's the industry I've worked in for decades, right? So, it's just my world. To deal with people like that is my world, and to be like that. The DJ Trev that you see on the camera when I do videos and when I'm interviewing people, you wouldn't recognize me on the job. It's just a different atmosphere, and it's kind of me, right? But anyway, I began to think about Fred, and I began to think about how, yeah, like I said, having somebody like that on the job can really screw things up. And so I began to think about this situation with Alex. Now, when I say it works in degrees, I can tolerate a lot because I'm used to that. But maybe people in, well, we're talking about the crypto space, but maybe in a lot of different spaces in a lot of different areas, wouldn't really have the same tolerance level. The breaking point would be a lot lower. Okay, because I've read some tweets and some things that Alex has said, and that he's text out or tweeted out or whatever, and they can be pretty offensive. They can be very inappropriate. But I read this stuff and I'm like, Alex wouldn't last a week in my world. You think that's rough, and you think that's, if that's really what's aggravating you is reading this tweet from Alex, then come to work with me for a week. You'll go home crying at the end of the week if that's your level of tolerance, right? But again, it's not really about that. It's kind of like what you're used to and what's really typical for certain atmospheres, okay? So level of degrees. Well, Alex is the Fred of the LUNC Terra Classic community, apparently. All right. And it was difficult for me to see because, again, he just doesn't rise to the level of aggravation that would really get to me, anything more than what I'm used to on a daily basis. But Zaradar helped me to see that in his own way, he can be equally disruptive in this environment. And I can see, and because I always try to see everyone's perspective as well, I still might not fully agree with it, but I see your perspective. I understand that Alex, for many of you, is what Fred was to us. Eventually, the supervisor had to fire Fred, had to get rid of him, because either Fred was going to get his ass kicked. Fred was going to get his ass kicked, right? But that's not the only thing that would have happened, okay? One of our really good crew members, who we've worked with forever, probably would have lost his job behind it. It was that disruptive. And so what you had to do, what our supervisor had to do, and this is years ago, he had to remove that disruptive force, and he had to let Fred go. So I understood it. I thought it was the right move at the time. So if that's the case, then how can I really think any differently here? I've spoken to Alex as well. You know that I speak to all these guys, right? And I've spoken to Alex. And I've gotten some of Alex's viewpoints and feelings on the situation. And I'll let him express those himself, okay? But I just want to let those know who I kind of argued tooth and nail with that I at last understand your perspective. And I understand why you feel like you want to remove what you consider to be a uncontrollably disruptive force in this community. Does it still hurt me that we would have to get that far? Yes. Do I still think that Alex could potentially have something to offer this chain? I do. And I know a lot of you disagree with me. But I've had the luxury, like I say, of having personal conversations with him. I've even hooked him up with some other people to talk to, regarding legal issues and stuff like that. And I cannot see that his intention is anything other than the betterment of the Terra Classic community, but in his out-of-the-box, unorthodox way that a lot of people may not understand or agree with, okay? But I know that that's not the main problem. The main problem is the divisiveness, is the nasty words and the nasty tweets and the and a lot of other things. I do realize it and I understand it. So I get it. If this proposal actually hits Terra Station and comes up for a vote, I don't know how I would vote on it. I think right now, because I am so down the middle, I would probably abstain. I would not vote against it, and previously I absolutely would have voted against it with veto. But I, again, have had this epiphany thanks to my friend Zaradar, who helped me to clarify some things. I would probably abstain. I might even vote yes, depending on some further conversations maybe with Alex and in which way he wants to go. And again, I'm going to leave that to him to address, if it ever even comes up. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to clarify that. And I appreciate very much all of the debate on the subject that we had, because it was all very civil, very adult. You always got these two, few boneheads who just want to escalate the fight, and they want to see, they want to sit back with their popcorn and watch things escalate and get nasty, and so they'll try to push buttons, but you ignore them. They're kids, they're children, right? The adults that were having this conversation with me and trying to make their point, right, and allowing me to make my point, I appreciate you. I really do. And I'm sure there'll be more of that to come, because we're human beings and we just don't agree on everything or see everything from the same perspective all the time. But as I said in my last video, it really just shows the passion that this community, the entire community, has for this project, has for this coin, and has for each other. Is that we're all trying to come up with ideas and do the best thing we can do to make this thing fly. Okay? That's it. I'm going to leave it at that. If you could, hit the like button if you would be so kind. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment in the comment section. And I'm sure I'll talk to you guys on the Discord and on TG. And I'll catch you later. Ciao.